You guys see this in China? They're painting all the roofs blue. Paint it blue to avoid the dew. You saw in Hawaii where everything blue didn't burn because lasers don't burn blue, right? Do you think that's anything new? No, man. Look at these pictures. They had airships collecting free energy from the skin of the airship with a big dew on it, and they just went around and just melted everything. That's why a lot of these Tartarian buildings are just freaking melted. And look at the catacombs. Look at the catacombs in France. 6 million skeletons stacked up. Those were stacked with no flesh. How did they get the flesh off the skeletons, man? Because they scorched it with a dew from a hot air balloon. Now, these airships just went around, just so between anthrax and the airships. And then what else they had? They had moonlight towers all over. The cities were all lit up. So if you weren't in the occult and you tried to sneak out and get some food, boom, it was daylight at 3 in the morning. Yeah, that's how they did it, people. And then what was left? Nothing but children. Nothing but kids left. Orphan trains, right? Mailing kids through the post. The Cabbage Patch Kids. You could mail a kid across the country. So they took the kids from America, sent them to Australia. The kids from Australia sent them to America. Just bamboozled these children, traumatized them. They took all their parents away. So it's trauma-based mind control. And then they raised an entire generation of occult. And that, people, is why so many people are in the occult. And the other fact that almost everybody's a fucking coward.
You were never meant to survive the Great Reset. Look, I'm not a politician, I'm not a billionaire, I've said this before, and I'm definitely not asking for permission to speak. What I'm about to share is based on public information, patterns, and open actions that anyone can find if you're willing to look. If you don't see it, it's because you don't want to see it. You can decide for yourselves, but as I always say, once you see it, it can't be unseen. So who's really moving the pieces here? Behind the governments you see on TV, there are bigger forces pulling the strings. The World Economic Forum, the United Nations, the World Health Organization, the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank. Nobody voted for them, nobody can fire them, but they still make the decisions that shape your life. So what's the agenda that they're pushing? Well, their plans are not hidden. They talk about them openly. A great reset, you've heard it. A new world order. A world where big companies and unelected groups make the rules. They say it's about saving the planet, helping the poor, and keeping people healthy. But if you look closer, it sounds more like taking control. Control of land, control of money, control of speech, control of lives. All for the greater good, they say. Here's how they move. The World Economic Forum writes the big ideas. The UN, they make it sound good with words like equity and sustainability. The World Health Organization creates emergencies to grab more power. The IMF and World Bank, they give out loans that trap companies into giving up control. The media, well, they tell the story the way that they want you to hear it. None of this is hidden. You just have to put the pieces together. It's all there in plain view. But why should they break the West? Well, the biggest thing standing in their way is free people. People who own their home, run their businesses, speak their minds. So what's the plan? Well, crush energy independence, destroy the value of money, open the borders, silence anyone who asks questions, make people scared, divided, and easy to control. If you have nothing left but fear, you'll probably take whatever the solution they're offering is. And that's the goal. Look around. Borders are wide open. Speech is being censored everywhere. Money's losing value. Fear everywhere you turn. And now they're talking about digital money that they control. Digital IDs, permanent emergency powers as well. If they win, you won't own your home, your money, or your freedom. You'll just rent your life from them at their price. Are any leaders fighting this? Well, there are some leaders who seem to be fighting back. Donald Trump pushes America first, stands against the United Nations, and warns about the World Economic Forum. Viktor Orban in Hungary, the prime minister, has kicked out globalist groups and stood for his country's independence. Vladimir Putin, even though he has his own agenda, his own motives, has spoken out against the Western globalist agenda and the idea of a one world government. They are not perfect, of course, but they understand one thing clearly. Nations should stay in control of their own future and not hand it over to a handful of unelected billionaires of Switzerland. This isn't just politics anymore. It's about survival. They need you scared. They need you silent. They need you obedient. But they forgot something. Free people don't stay silent forever. Free people don't kneel when the truth is on the line, do they? The future will not be written by the ones who obey. It will be written by the ones who refuse to bow. And today, guess what? That's us.
Been 100 men control 8 billion people. That's a real problem. The problem is not the 100 men. The problem is the 8 billion people. Every time we participate in their system, we continue to give them the power to destroy us, to enslave us. The government is supposed to work for the people, but they flipped it on us. And they got us thinking that, no, we work for them and we better do what the hell they say. There's only one thing needed to change what's going on this planet right now. That's for everyone on this planet to become unified and to do one thing else. Stop playing.
They told us the Patriot Act was to protect us from terrorists. Instead, they got your phone records, your emails, your face scanned at the airport, and sold your data to their partner. And after billions spent and millions searched, guess how many terrorists the TSA caught? 0. You are not the passenger anymore. You're the product.
They're really fun.
We should defy bureaucracy. We should reject modernity. Embrace tradition, and you'll save the world. And they want to silence it. And that is dangerous. That's the point of no return. We lose that, there's no coming back.
When it comes to privacy, everyone looks at the most obvious, glaring invasions. However, when dealing with the very smart engineers in big tech, they have come up with some pretty sneaky ways of identifying who you are on the internet. The scary part is that even the privacy smart people aren't even aware of this privacy invasion or how to get around it. The biggest offender, or at least the original player that made serious use of this threat, was Zuckerberg, that sneaky Zucker. I noticed this early on and was one of the critical reasons why I left Facebook a dozen years ago. What this is a list that you don't even realize you're in, and you have very little input on whether you appear on this list. However, be aware that for most of you, this is the clear identifying mark on the internet. This is how big tech can easily find out who you are.
Final capstone thought, open quote, if you don't control the data, you are the data. If you don't own the algorithm, it owns you. Surveillance is quiet, but freedom doesn't have to be. Close quote.